every year it seems like Alabama produces some very intriguing defensive prospects, both on the front seven and in the secondary. This year, however, there really aren't as many elite defensive players on the Alabama defense. A lot of people really like LT Overton, the edge rusher, but I have a full video on my channel talking about why I'm not the biggest fan of his. The linebackers at Alabama, however, have been remarkable. A lot of people thought that Deontay Lawson would be the top defensive player on Alabama, but I actually think Lawson's teammate, Jihaad Campbell, has a very legit case to be the top linebacker in the draft class. How high could we see Campbell get taken at the top of the 2025 NFL Draft? That is what we will be discussing in today's video. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon page, because for anyone who joins as a free member, you guys will get exclusive access to my in-depth draft guide with over 500 scouting reports and evaluations. On there, you'll be able to see my big board, my positional rankings, and all the stuff you guys will need going into draft season. If you guys do enjoy my NFL draft content, I highly recommend checking that out. Leave a comment and let me know which players you guys would like to see in a future video, and without further ado, let's take a closer look at Jihaad Campbell. Jihaad Campbell has quietly been a very productive piece up front on the Alabama defense, and he's starting to show the world how good he is this year. Last season, he put up some solid numbers, posting 42 tackles, 12 pressures, and an interception for Alabama. He wasn't getting a lot of pre-draft hype, and to be quite honest with you, I didn't have him on my summer watch list. But so far in 2024, he has been exceptional for Alabama, already posting 55 tackles, 10 pressures, and an interception, and he is quickly earning himself some linebacker 1 hype entering the draft cycle. Campbell has incredible size in the middle of the defense. He is 6'3", 244 pounds, and he possesses the ideal frame to be a starting middle linebacker in the NFL. He has great length, and I love that, but it is his athleticism at the size that makes him most impressive. He is such a fluid mover for his size, with great flexible hips. He can stop and go on a dime, and he moves so incredibly well for his size. Not only that, he has sideline to sideline speed with elite change of direction, and he has some rare athletic tools for the linebacker position. The area that impressed me the most about Campbell was his ability in coverage. He genuinely looked like a box safety on the field at times because he was so fluid as an athlete. He reads the quarterback's eyes so incredibly well in zone coverage, and he has quick instincts to react to the play and plays incredibly well in space, and I think he's the best coverage linebacker not just in this draft, but the best coverage linebacker I have studied in the 3 years I have done this, because he's got excellent zone feel, but he also has the change of direction and the fluid hips and physicality to man up against tight ends or running backs if he gets on an island. He's able to hold his own, and he is an incredible coverage linebacker for as young as he is. Campbell also does a very nice job of triggering downhill and defending against the run. He's a very solid run defender, mostly because he has such elite quickness to go into the backfield and make a splash play. He has 60 run stops over his career, but 35 of them have come early on in the 2024 season. He has really improved as a run defender, and his upside is through the roof, and when he does make a hit, he hits with a ton of power, and he is an extremely physical and violent linebacker. What I will say about his run defense that is still a bit of an issue for him was his control. There were a lot of times where it seemed like he got his feet stuck underneath of him, or he just tripped on his own feet, and he was unable to really get into the backfield with the same level of quickness. He also did have the tendency to take some bad angles and would overextend in the run department, which was an area I didn't love to see. He is still a very solid run defender, but he does have some areas I think he can get better at to be considered elite in that department. Another area he needs to improve in is his play strength. there are two areas in particular where it is very apparent that he is lacking in that department. The first one is when he is trying to stack and shed blockers. He oftentimes will get stuck on a block, and he is unable to disengage and make a play in the backfield. That is never a great sign, and he doesn't really show the strength to power through the block and stack linemen and get to the backfield. And this is why Alabama really doesn't use him much as a blitzer, and he doesn't really have much of a pass rush upside. But another area is as a tackler. Through his career, Campbell has struggled with some missed tackles, and while the missed tackle rate's only 8.2%, which is overall really good, there are some areas where it does show he does have some areas he can improve in. It sometimes looks like he can be an arms tackler, and he's got to improve at wrapping up and being more consistent as a tackler, and just improve his technique a little bit. Jihaad Campbell, in my opinion, is the best pure inside linebacker in this draft class. On my big board, I rank all linebackers the same based on the tape I watch, both outside and inside backers, and while I have Jalen Walker as my number one linebacker, I'm really hesitant because I think Campbell is incredibly close to him. I absolutely love his coverage feel, his athleticism, and I think he's got a really elite frame. I think he's going to be a problem in the NFL. He is an incredibly talented player who is my number 36 overall prospect in the draft class. In terms of a scheme fit, Campbell's the perfect middle linebacker on the NFL level. I think he can really do any and everything you want him to do on the football field. Whether he is dialed up as a blitzer, whether he's roaming the middle of the field in coverage, I think he has the athleticism, football IQ, and skill to be a really elite inside linebacker at the next level. I know this comparison is going to get a ton of hate, a ton of pushback, and I probably deserve it. But Campbell reminds me a ton of a toned down version of Fred Warner. Warner is by far the best linebacker in the NFL, and the biggest reason for that is his coverage feel. He can man up against tight ends, running backs, and even wide receivers at times. And he is such a fluid athlete with some amazing movement abilities. Warner is also a very good tackler who can defend the run, punch footballs loose, and has the sideline to sideline speed that not many players in the league have at the linebacker position. Campbell has those same tools. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Fred Warner, but in terms of a play style and the way he could be used on the defense, I think he's very similar to Fred Warner. My comparison is a light version of that player. Jihaad Campbell is the next Fred Warner. He has size, speed, and coverage feel that very few linebackers provide, and he is an incredible talent who I think after the combine is just going to fly up draft boards. Ultimately, I believe that Jihaad Campbell will be a top 50 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.